Now, if she go beyond her normal 7 days, then she is unclean all the time of her issue, and then after her issue cease, then she's still unclean for another 7 days. I just want everybody to understand that, because people have asked me about that. Now I want you to skip down to verse 31. You know, when Israel was in the land, there were provisions made. There was a place that they could go during the time of their uncleanness so that they wouldn't come in contact with other people and contaminate others as well. Go ahead and read on. Start reading at verse 31. Go ahead and read.
Thus shall ye separate the children of Israel from their uncleanness, that they die not in their uncleanness, when they defile my tabernacle that is among them.
Lord said, when you come into my tabernacle, he said, separate these people so that they don't die not when they come into my tabernacle.
Yes, sir.
Because I don't want them coming in there during the time of their uncleanness, because I kill them. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes,
and you think God ain't serious about this, but everybody's taking it lightly. You understand what? No, we are not doing it absolutely to the letter, but we are making an effort. I like that better than just throwing it in the garbage. I like that better. That sounds better to me. I feel a little more comfortable standing before the Lord saying, at least I've tried. Even though I didn't do it 100% to the letter, I made an effort. I feel better about that. Go ahead and read on.
This is the law of him that hath an issue.
Now he said, this is the law of him that has an issue. Go ahead and read.
And of him whose seed goeth from him and is defiled therewith.
Go ahead.
And of her that is sick of her flowers, and of him that hath an issue.
Go ahead.
And of the man, and of the woman, and of him that lie with her that is unclean.
Now, let's go and look at another thing that causes uncleanness. Let's go to Numbers chapter 19, and we'll begin reading at verse 11. Numbers 19, and we'll begin reading at verse Numbers 19, verse 11. 19 and 11. 19 and 11. Now, when the animal sacrifice law was still good, then what they had to do, they had to take a red heifer, and they had to burn it. Priest had to burn it with fire. Then he had to take the ashes and mix it with water. And this was called the water of separation. But now, we are not killing animals anymore, so we're going to just pick it up at verse 9. At verse 11, rather. Numbers 19, verse 11. Go ahead and read.
He that toucheth the dead body of any man shall be unclean 7 days.
Now he said, if you touch the dead body of any man, you are unclean for 7 days. And this is being literally unclean as well. I'm going to tell you something. You know, dead bodies, you can get certain diseases from dead bodies that will kill you. You can get cholera from dead bodies. And cholera will kill you. Make no mistake about it. So now God wants to keep the people from being contaminated. He wants to keep the camp from being contaminated. Therefore, when these people had these uncleanness upon them, he had a place for them to go so that they would contaminate the rest of the camp. Go ahead and read on.
He shall purify himself with it on the 3rd day, and on the 7th day he shall be clean.
Now this water of separation, what verse are you?
Verse 12.
This water of separation, that is the water that I was talking about where the priest had to kill a dead heifer, burn it with fire, and take the ashes and mix it with some water, and it was called the water of separation. Go ahead and continue to read.
But if he purify not himself the 3rd day, then the 7th day he shall not be clean.
Go ahead and read.
Whosoever touches the dead body of any man that is dead, and purifieth not himself, defileth the tabernacle of the Lord.
Go ahead.
And that soul shall be cut off from Israel, because the water of separation was not sprinkled upon him.
Go ahead.
He shall be unclean. His uncleanness is yet upon him.
Now, because we don't kill the animals anymore, we don't have the water of separation anymore, but you are still just as unclean if you touch a dead body. Make no mistake about it. Go ahead and read out.
This is the law when a man dieth in a tent.
Now he said, this is the law when a man dies in a tent. In other words, if a person died in some enclosure, then everything that is within that enclosure is unclean. Like if he died in a room or something, then everything that is within that room is unclean. And then if you go in that room where he died, not if you go to the funeral home where they took him and carried him after he died, but in the room where he died in, then you are unclean for 7 days. Go ahead. Finish that. Start at the top of that verse again.
This is the law when a man dieth in a tent. All that come into the tent and all that is in the tent shall be unclean 7 days.
Now, if he died in some enclosure, in other words, because we know we ain't got, well, we still got tents, but don't nobody use tents no more. But now, if he died in some enclosure, everybody that comes within that enclosure, after this person have died in there, not died somewhere else, and they took him there, but died in there, then they are unclean for 7 days. Go ahead and read on.
Verse 15.
Go ahead and read.
And every open vessel which has no covering bound upon it is unclean. And whosoever touches one that is slain with the sword in the open fields, or a dead body,
or
a bone of a man,
or
a grave,
or even a grave,
shall be unclean 7 days.
And they shall be unclean 7 days. Now, I want you to skip down to verse 22. Go ahead and read.
And whatsoever the unclean person touches shall be unclean. And the soul that touches it shall be unclean until even.
Now he said the soul that, the unclean person, this man, he was, he done went in a room where somebody died at, and then after he's unclean for 7 days. After he came out, he turned around and touched something, then that is unclean until the evening. If you come along and touch what they have touched, then you are unclean until the evening. Now, let's go to Numbers chapter 9, and we'll begin reading at verse 6. Numbers 9, we're going to pick it up at verse 6, because the Lord made exception here, because as we got the high days coming up. And then the Lord made the exception as far as the high days go, with one exception. And this is the exception. Start reading at Numbers 9 and began at verse 6. Numbers 9 and verse 6. Go ahead and read.
And there were certain men who were defiled by the dead body of a man.
Now there were certain men, they had been defiled by the dead body of a man. Go ahead and read.
That they could not keep the Passover on that day.
Now they couldn't keep the Passover on that day, because the Passover was to be kept on the 14th day of the first month. Yes, so now they had been defiled by reason of a dead body, so they couldn't keep it on that day. Go ahead and read on.
And they came before Moses and before Aaron on that day. And those men said unto him, We are defiled by the dead body of a man. Wherefore are we kept back, that we may not offer an offering of the Lord in his appointed season among the children of Israel.
Go ahead.
And Moses said unto them, Stand still, and I will hear what the Lord will command concerning you.
See, Moses wasn't going to decide the issue on his own. He says, just stand still, and I'm going to see what the Lord will command concerning you. Because Moses didn't want to make no mistake, so therefore he was going to wait and see what the Lord commanded concerning this issue. Go ahead and continue reading.
And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, saying,
Go ahead.
If any man of you or your posterity,
now, if any man of you or your posterity, any of your children, in other words, go ahead and read,
shall be unclean by reason of a dead body.
Now, if they are unclean by reason of a dead body, he ain't said nothing else. He didn't say about no running issue, or seed of compilation, or none of that, did it? He just said by reason of a dead body. Go ahead and read on.
Or be in a journey afar off.
Go ahead.
Yet he shall keep the Passover unto the Lord.
Go ahead.
The 14th day of the second month at even they shall keep it, and eat it with unleavened bread and bitter herbs.
See, then they had to keep it on the 14th day of the second month. It was supposed to be done on the 14th day of the first month, but because they were unclean by reason of a dead body. So now I'm just letting you know, if you are unclean by reason of a dead body, then you cannot partake in the Passover. I mean, you can come, but you cannot partake in it. Partaking in the Passover means you're going to eat of that bread and that wine that is our Passover for now. Ever since Jesus died, the Passover, you eat it now by eating the bread and the wine. So you cannot eat of the bread and the wine. You can show up here, but you cannot eat of the bread and the wine. You can't partake of the Passover. If you are unclean, I want to be clear here. If you are unclean by reason of a dead body, it said. Go ahead and read on.
They shall leave none of it unto the morning, nor break any bone of it. According to all the ordinance of the Passover, they shall keep it.
Go ahead.
But the man that is clean.
Now he said, but the man that is clean. This ain't really got nothing to do with the lesson, but I figure I'd read it anyway. Because you have people say, I don't bother keeping all that old Jewish Passover and all that stuff. But now he said, a man that is clean and forbid to keep the Passover. Go ahead and read.
And is not in a journey.
Go ahead.
And forbeareth to keep the Passover.
Now if he's clean and is not in a journey, because we even get some people there, they'll show up on the Sabbath day, but I ain't going to bother going on these high days, because I don't think we need to do all of that. Yes, you do. Because you read here what the Lord say here if you are unclean and you refuse to keep the Passover. Go ahead.